live. Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing today on this lovely, lovely Wednesday? I am doing decent. All right, now let's forward the stream to a couple of people. All right, so if anyone comes through, let me know. It's 10:01. All right, so it is 10:03. How's everyone doing in the chat? All right, cool. So let me get this. Also, if we could do this real quick as well. All right, so okay, cool. So let's get this show on the road. Hello and welcome back to NewsReal. 6. Testing, testing. Can everyone hear? If everyone can hear, good stuff. Let's get started with the show. And hello, welcome back to NewsReal, the only show on WDSR that does whatever it pleases, tells you the news, tells you some good movies, tells you everything you need to know, and a little bit more. I'm your host, R. Tyler, and welcome back to WDSR, Duquesne Student Radio. Oh boy, how was everybody's Easter? I gotta tell you, my Easter, it was alright. I went back. I had a grand old time looking for Easter baskets, looking for Easter eggs, looking for, I don't know, candy, all that jazz. And, it was a good time. Easter's always a good time in my family because my mother does this thing called, well, she does this Easter egg hunt where we essentially go all over the place, like all over the city, where she knows a couple people and sets up a couple of like Easter places with friends she knows, and it's kind of cool because like we'll go to a cigar shop once and then it gives you a clue and then we have to do something in order to find it, and then we're like, oh, we have to go to this place now. It's like a citywide scavenger hunt, I'd say, and it was a lot of fun. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about the news. Why you're here, why we're talking about this essentially. So I think the first thing that I want to cover is I want to update y'all on the Chipotle story that I talked about last week. Now, the Chipotle story I talked about last week, there was this big promotion with Chipotle about Bitcoins and burritos, and you could go to a link, sign up with your email, and then have 10 chances to win up to 100K in Bitcoin. And that was kind of interesting because I talked about it last week, but it was just interesting to figure out how the public opinion is on Bitcoin. Is it's changing. It's changing, and it's like, how would I phrase it? Originally, Bitcoin was seen as something that not many people regarded as not valuable. Like, they just didn't think it was going to have much staying power, I think, at the end of the day. But now it's proving to be, yeah, this thing has a lot of monetary value and it's going to stay. But anyway, that's kind of the big thing. But apparently that big promotion that they did with the Bitcoin and burritos thing really paid off, because I'm checking the markets right now and Chipotle is doing really well. It's up two and 2.44 points on the market. And holy cow, is that what the stock's worth? It is worth about $1,487. $1,487. That is a lot of money. Chipotle, you do a good job. I think you do a decent burrito, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of I'm not a huge fan of your guac. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you could do a lot better job with your guac at the end of the day. But enough of the food service. Now we're talking about the job service. Apparently, according to reports, U.S. job openings surged to a 2-year high in February. The Labor Department said yesterday that the number blew past economists' expectations, and when paired with last Friday's A-plus job reports, shows that employers are ready to hand out offer letters like Lyft discount codes. I'm reading this off of the Morning Brew website currently, but yeah. That's really, really cool. I'm really honestly like that. That kind of put a smile to my face today. I didn't really realize that. I mean, when you go through a year of just people searching for jobs and having trouble finding jobs and all that, it's kind of like you expect that to be the norm now. You expect that to be, you know, you expect it to be like you expect it to be the same. Like it's gonna be crappy, it's gonna stay crappy. But I don't know. When I hear news like this is very, very, very encouraging at the end of the day because I know a lot of you college listeners out there. You guys you're going to these universities and you're expecting a job at the end of the day. I know a lot of people are like really kind of struggling, and I also know a lot of people are, you know, they didn't know what to do last year. I had a couple of friends that graduated last year, and they had an idea of what they wanted to do, but some did, but most didn't because, they're going out into a market where, nothing's available. And, we can't we can't let that discourage us at the end of the day. We have to keep moving forward and, things will be good. I mean, Taco Bell currently trying to hire a lot of people, trying to hire at least 5,000 people in a single day. Granted, that might be based on store. I mean, let me double check this. Is Apparently it's adding benefits for some general managers to sweeten the pot as restaurants struggle to hire enough workers to keep up with a surge in sales amid a broader U.S. economic recovery. Now, that U.S. economic recovery is very important because, we want to get back to normalcy. We want to get back to stability, and that's a very important thing to keep in mind. Um, hmm, yeah, let's see. Also, I see a lot of people like blaming the stimulus checks. Like, I don't know. That's a loaded question right there. Were the unemployment stimulus checks warranted? You ask me, I believe they are warranted. I think that people needed help. They needed help of some degree, and they needed help at the end of the day because a lot of people were struggling, and the times were really bad around that. Like last year, job openings were slim, and employment was slim, and it was just very hard to find a stable job last year. So we needed those stimulus checks, and we needed to help our people at the end of the day. But here's the big issue there. People are starting to say now, oh, if you give them these checks, they won't go out and they won't look for a job, so they'll live off the money that they get from those checks. And to that, I'll say, uh, yeah, I mean, are you a grandpa? Mostly, I've heard like just older people trying to saying this, and I'm like, listen, $1,400 is not what it was back in the day. $1,400 is I don't want to say it's pocket change because it's not pocket change, but it's something that can provide living for at least a couple of months. But at the end of the day, you're gonna it's gonna be gone. It's like someone winning the lottery. You blow out all your lottery tickets and you blow your lottery wealth, you're not gonna get that back. It's sort of it's a gift. I don't know the tax version of it, but you went. It's the analogy of winning $1,000. Sure, now you have $1,000, but you only have that one-time payment of $1,000. You're not going to consistently make $1,000 by just sitting at home and doing all that. That's just not how it goes at the end of the day, you know. But yeah, I think that's kind of out of pocket. I know a couple people, including Fat Brands Inc. CEO Andy Wiederhorn. Wiederhorn? Wiederhorn. Wiederhorn? Yeah, let's just go with Wienerhorn. I mean, he describes the staffing situation for franchisees like just as a total nightmare. And he just blames the stimulus check and people wanting to stay at home instead of looking for work. When in actuality, people don't want to get the virus and they don't want to get sick and they don't want to spread it. Granted, fears are starting to alleviate a little bit more with the vaccine, but I digress. According to this Reuters, how do you say that? Reuters? Reuters, yeah. According to that Reuters, according to a Reuters.com article, a measure of the U.S. services industry activity surged to a record high on Monday amid robust growth in new orders, the latest indication of a roaring economy boosted by increased vaccinations. And I touched on this a little, but those vaccinations are really going to encourage people to go out and get those jobs. And along with the stimulus check as well, it's going to allow them to get back on their feet. So it's not, we just need to stop victim blaming at this point in time. We just need to really understand that we're trying to help each other out at this point, and we're not trying to kick our fellow brothers and sisters out onto the street. We're trying to really become like helpful to our society. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent with this. Let's move on. If I get any more into it, then I'm just going to be very upset. All right, next story. You know what? Let's talk about movies. I need to talk about movies before I move on to anything else. Uh, I watched a movie last week. It was kind of an interesting one. It was called Sunset Boulevard. It was an old timey movie. It had a lot of old timey actors. It was black and white and all that. I believe it was shot in the 50s. And honestly, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. I liked it. I liked the main cast, main actress, all that. It was kind of like a very Dracula esque tale. Now, the gist of the story is there's this writer named, hold on, let me get the names up for this so I don't start blabbering. But the gist of the story is there's this writer and he's on the run, he's in a lot of debt, so he doesn't know what to do, and all of a sudden he ends up in this house of this very old actress who has a lot of issues and a lot of eat self she's essentially a narcissist. Very, very, very narcissistic person. This guy comes in. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna help." Since he's a writer, he's gonna be like, he is like, you know what? I'm gonna help you with your script and all that. And she's like, "Oh, you can stay at my place." And then slowly and surely, he he starts to grow close with her. But at the same time, that closeness breeds toxicity within their relationship. And I won't get into it too much. Well, I'll get into it a little bit, but it eventually leads to his death. And the only reason why I say that is because it literally opens on his death. He's dead in the pool, and he's like talking about, oh, there was this writer, and I was this writer, and yeah. First things foremost, Gloria Swanson, I believe, yeah. Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond was amazing. She was like a female Dracula, man. She was just like a blood sucking, well, not a blood sucking, but like she just is a time sucker, I'd say, or just a very abusive person and a monster similar to Dracula, but of a different manner. She doesn't turn into a bat. She doesn't turn into a werewolf. She doesn't do any of that. Norma Desmond, her character in the movie, she played, and Norma Desmond is the older actress that is very narcissistic. That she is she's a thief of the time and the soul. She doesn't mean to do anything, though. She doesn't mean to be a bad person at the end of the day. She just wants more time in the spotlight. She wants to be the big star that she was back in the heyday. And that's the issue, conflict with her, or that's the main conflict with her, trying to get back into the spotlight when her time is honestly up, and nobody really wants to deal with her anymore. And that's the big issue. That's kind of the number one issue that permeates throughout the movie. And I just, oof, I empathize with it a little bit because, like, I don't know, I worry about getting burnt out every so often, and I worry about not enjoying the things that I used to anymore. That's a genuine concern of mine. That's kind of why, I don't know, I've gone back and forth on like doing a film career, but I don't want to ever get burned out on something. Or a better example would be I like to cook. I like to cook in my spare time, and a couple people asked me, "Hey, why don't you become a line chef or an executive chef?" And I'm like, because I don't do it for that. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't cook for a job. I cook to help me relax, to help me decompress, to help me feel like a sense of satisfaction at the end of the day. Unfortunately, this is something that happens with Norma. Norma believes that she's continuing, she wants to do it, she loves doing it, but she's burnt out on it and she just doesn't know what to do anymore. And no one's addressing that issue. Her butler is not helping at all. In fact, he essentially like further cements her delusion because he doesn't want her to feel the pain of just hearing, you're never going to be the person that you were now, but you have to move on and become someone better. He never has that conversation with her because at the end of the day, he wants to be she wants to be someone she can no longer be anymore. And I'm not saying the writer guy is bed of roses either. He's kind of a jerk because let's see, William Holden as Joe Gillis. That's the character's name, Joe Gillis. He's kind of a jerk because he doesn't help her either. In fact, he's kind of a jerk about it. He's like, hey, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm just going to piggyback off this actress in order to hopefully maybe get a film made. And then there's a situation at New Year's, which I might not be allowed to talk about because, Catholic college, and you don't want to get into that mess and all that. But there was a traumatic situation that happened when Norma got rejected by Gillis, and he did not want to be with her, but she wanted to be with him. So she did something a little bit drastic, and then he came back to her, and then he was like, "Hey, I love you either way, and I just want to do this thing." And then they do this thing, the thing, and then they kind of just start like a little like a little how do I phrase this? Little lovey-dovey stuff. Little lovey-dovey stuff. But at the end of the day, like you know that the relationship to her isn't the same thing as the relationship to him. He just feels a very different way about her than she does about him. And that eventually leads to his downfall and her downfall. It's just oof, I think that's a thinking about it now. It's a really good study on relationships, mainly toxic ones, and how they start and how not to handle them in the end of the day. Granted, I think you could argue that the meaning has evolved over time with, cultural standards and such. But, I think that it's a really good movie. It's on Prime Video. I think that most people should go out and check it out. And yeah, I would give it about a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There we go. All right, let's move on to the next thing. I kind of wanted to talk about this the Georgia voting laws. Now, the Georgia voting laws have been a hot button topic recently. I think they've really kind of proven. I think they've proven themselves to be a genuine danger to the people in Georgia and to the American public if these laws get adopted into the mainstream. By mainstream, I mean federal government. Uh, Here are some of the main changes, though, that are popping up on the radars of a lot of people. The limits on absentee ballots. The law will shrink the window for voters who to request mail-in ballots, allow officials to send ballots only to voters who request them, and introduces ID requirements in place of signature matching. So, okay. I mean, let's talk about that first. So essentially, what they're doing is they don't want as many they don't want as many people to sign in and request voter ballots. I don't. Let's see. I want to see if I can get an exact date on this. But yeah, the main thing is a lot of people have been throwing the like. A lot of people have been having a lot of issues with these laws because some have been calling it straight up voter suppression at worst, and voter suppression at worst, and you know, just not very positive things at best. I have yet to find someone with a very positive image about it. Okay, I mean, the MLB, the big Pirates guys. Those guys actually moved its All-Star game from Atlanta in response to these laws. And Biden even compared them to the Jim Crow laws. And that's crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting off track. Let's move on to the next part. Power to the state government. Power over local elections is being stripped from the Secretary of State, an elected position, and transferred to a newly created position that's appointed. Ooh, that's not good. Always go with elected over appointed because appointed, some positions need to be appointed, but it's mainly like the head of like organizations like the FBI and what you call it, the EPA. They need people appointed to those positions. But something like this with voting and all that, I don't know if I feel great about that. I mean, critics according to critics, this removes the nonpartisan flavor of election governance. Okay, I would agree with that because, no matter who gets elected at the end of the day, it's no matter who gets well, it is going to depend on who's going to get elected. It's going to depend on who is in power, the Democrats or the Republicans at that time, and then they can appoint anyone who they want to at that time, and then they can do some freaky deaky stuff with the election and all that. So okay, no food in line. The law bans handing out food or drink within 150 feet of a polling place or within 25 feet of any voter. Okay, now that's kind of whack. I don't agree with this at all because a lot of people, including myself, waited a very long time in these lines. I mean, I remember some of these lines along PPG Paint's arena just going all the way towards I just remember those lines going on forever. And, you get hungry. And, I just think that, that's kind of whack. And, there's actually a place, and I want to give them a shout out. Pizza to the Polls. I think they do an excellent job. They do what they say. They provide pizza to the polling stations all over the country. I actually invested some stuff into it as well. Invested meaning I donated a little bit to them, and I think that it's a good organization. They do a lot of good work, and you know, I think they might struggle a little bit from it as well. But I think at the end of the day, they'll. I hope they'll be fine. They're hopefully these laws are fought a little bit more. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know much about this, so I'm gonna switch over to the next story that I want to talk about. The next story I want to talk about is, and this is something that might be a hot button issue, but I think it's still very important to talk about. It's the Derek Chauvin trial. I think this whole thing is very, very important because I think that the whole situation, starting back in gosh, was it May? Jeez. This whole situation, starting back last year, was just tough. Essentially, the trial started, I believe, last week. It's on its eighth day, starting on Wednesday. A lot of people have been testifying, the main one being the current police chief. And from what I've heard, he didn't really give him a high praise. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this first. One of the first, well, not the first, one of the people who are the witnesses on the trial. This first one is Sergeant Jody Steger of the Los Angeles Police Department, who said that he has trained close to 3,000 police officers in use of force tactics. He also told prosecutors that Mr. Floyd kicked at officers as a possible attempt to break free from their grasp. He added that, based on his review of body camera footage, Mr. Floyd seemed to comply with officers shortly after they placed him face down on the pavement with his hands cuffed behind his back. Oof. And when asked directly about Mr. Chauvin's actions, Sergeant Steger, the sergeant was blunt. My opinion was that the force was excessive. And I'm going to be honest, you look at it, you look at the whole situation that came about from that, and he's not wrong at all. I don't think he's wrong at all because the situation was really bad, really, really bad. I mean, if you haven't seen the video, I urge all of you listening to watch it because I think that it is truly an eye-opening video, and it's something that no one ever should ever go through. I don't care what your opinions are on it. I don't care whether you think he was on something or he's just this bad dude. At the end of the day, he didn't ask to be put in that position. He didn't want to. I mean, I don't know. I doubt he would want to be put in that position of being this martyr at the end of the day. It's a situation that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And a lot of people tend to forget that. People tend to just go with the regular narrative of, oh, he was a cop, he was just doing his job. No, that's not what cops do. Cops shouldn't do that. People that are in charge of protecting other people shouldn't be going around and killing people for the most part. I don't think that's a good mentality to have. I really don't think that, I don't know, I just worry because that mentality seems to be prevalent within most police organizations. And I don't know, maybe something changes, maybe something doesn't. Probably not. But it's just frustrating for me to see because I don't know. I don't want people that are very close to me, I don't want them to get hurt at the end of the day. And I just really feel terrible about it, the whole thing. I just remember watching that video and just, I don't know. Imagine just having someone just brutally just sit on your neck and just not let up for 8 minutes. You did know it, and the dude knew he was gonna die. He knew it. He knew it. He knew it. You just see him calling out for his mother, calling out for. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to another witness. Kind of want to talk about this next one. Okay. Officer Nicole McKenzie, the medical support coordinator for the Minneapolis Police Department, agreed with the assertion by Mr. Chauvin's lawyer, Eric J. Nelson, that a crowd of vocal bystanders could make it difficult for an officer to render medical aid during an arrest. Lieutenant Johnny Marcel, a veteran of Minneapolis Police Department's and use of force instructor, also said hostile bystanders could raise alarms with officers. Okay. All right. So you're blaming the people who were recording it, right? I mean, by vocal bystanders, it seems like you're trying to put the blame on the vocal bystanders on what actually happened and for recording it and making, like, the fact that they were recording it made you be upset. It made you kill the person, right? It made you, I don't know, put your neck on him for longer, right? That's kind of what I'm inferring from this. I mean, hostile bystanders. I watched that video. I just don't think there were any hostile bystanders. It didn't seem like there were. I mean, none of the cops got hurt, right? No one on the cop side got hurt at this point. At that point in time, no one got hurt on the cop side. In fact, I remember a police report saying that. I remember a police report saying that at the time there's just this. It was just a medical emergency. He had. Gosh, I forget what it was. I don't want to mess this up either. I can't find it at the time, but they completely brush it off of like him having asthma or something like that. And then the video came out, and then you're just like, no, that's not what happened at all. They straight up lied. They lied. They lied. And that's the worst part of it all. They really tried to cover this up. And now they're throwing him under the bus. I mean, some people like Miss Officer McKenzie believes that a crowd of vocal bystanders could make it difficult for an officer to render medical aid during an arrest. The intention was not that. I don't think the intention was that at the end of the day. That's a really poor defense too. I don't know. You want to contribute it like, oh, the vocal bystanders really messed with his mental state, the officer's mental state, and made him go a little bit further and all that. But no, I mean, someone should have stepped in. It should have never gotten to this point. And oof, I'm not a very super religious person, but my prayers go out to Mr. Floyd's family. I mean, I know it's a year past. Never said anything publicly. I know it probably will fall on deaf ears, but no one should go through that kind of thing ever. And that's just kind of, that's kind of it. I'm sorry for getting serious on you, but it's something that I feel a little bit passionate about, and I'll keep you updated with the results. All right, next issue. Let's move on to something lighter. Apparently, there's a ketchup shortage in the United States. According to NBC News, after the pandemic forced many restaurants to ramp up their takeout game, The demand for those handy individual ketchup packets quickly skyrocketed. Yeah, and then, yeah, that's surprising. According to the Wall Street Journal, ketchup packets are apparently in short supply right now, and restaurants and fast food chains are struggling to keep up with the demand. Wow, I wonder why. Apparently, the supply chain stretched to its limit. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at, first off, Heinz all the way. If you don't use Heinz, I think you're a crazy person, honestly. Because, Heinz is just the primo stuff, man. Nothing better like it. Nothing. 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 Hunt's Hunt's, you're crazy. Hunt's, you're crazy. Heinz all the way. I mean, if Heinz wasn't anything, then they wouldn't have a museum down in the downtown area. All right? That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. I digress. Kraft Heinz, and speaking of Heinz, Heinz, the most well known ketchup manufacturer, the company makes up 70% of the U.S. retail market for ketchup. Yeah, and there's a reason for that because they're really good. The Wall Street Journal reported with more people eating at home, ketchup bottle sales have also increased 15% in the last year to over 1 billion in 2020. What? Holy mackerel! Who knew ketchup made that much? I didn't. I certainly didn't. Ketchup is crazy, man. Looking through it, many restaurants have been limiting the number of packets they give to customers or resorting to purchasing generic ketchup brands that they don't use. Yeah, I can see that. And some popular fast food chains like Long John Silver's and Texas Roadhouse have even had to reach out to secondary suppliers for the packets. First off, Long John Silver's, how are they still open? They are like the nastiest thing, I swear. Because I remember I don't think I've ever seen anyone go into the Long John Silver's in my life. I have never personally stepped a foot into a Long John Silver's at all. But yeah, I mean, the concept of it sounds disgusting. Fast food, seafood? What? Fast food, seafood. Okay, so fast food, seafood. You are going out and you're going to grab a fried fish sandwich. Okay, that's kind of nasty because I mean there have been reports of fast food chains really skimming on there, like not only fast food chains but seafood in America apparently, and this might not be just in America, but I read a statistic that said about 60% of all fish in America is kind of mislabeled, meaning when you think you're eating a tuna, you're actually, excuse me, when you're actually eating a tuna, you're actually eating a salmon. And that's kind of weird. And I don't really mess with that. And that makes me even more suspicious about Long John Silver's because I don't trust their food. I don't trust seafood in general. Unless it's from a local joint, I never trust seafood. Ever. I just, it gives me the heebie jeebies. Am I actually eating the right food or am I am I eating salmon or am I eating some low quality tuna or something like that? Or am I eating some other low quality fish? I just, that's something that really gets me. I don't like that aspect of seafood. That's why I'm not a huge seafood fan because I just don't trust it. At the end of the day, that the only thing that I've tried is, or the only thing I liked was about grouper and bass, and the only reason why I like that is no fishy taste, and I always get them from local restaurants, but I digress. Uh, let's move on with the story. Apparently, Stephen Cornell, Kraft Heinz president of Enhancer Specialty and Away from Home Business Unit, told the told people or told these reporters that the company is working hard to keep the demand for those coveted ketchup packets as the takeout industry continues to explode. Holy cow, you're not kidding. The unmatched love we have for our iconic Heinz brand, as well as our uh, long-standing partnership with the restaurant industry, are two responsibilities that we take very seriously, which is why we made the strategic manufacturing investments at the start of the pandemic to keep up with the surge in demand for ketchup packets driven by the accelerated delivery and takeout trends, he wrote in an email statement. Oh boy. Yeah, and then the president notes that they're looking into new packaging options to help evolve with the industry. So let me ask you, loyal listeners and loyal viewers, how do you feel about ketchup? I like ketchup. It's the other two I don't really mess around with. I don't really like mayo. I don't like mayo. I don't like mustard. I like barbecue. I'm not a huge fan of either of those two. Though. Mayo, how do you like mayo? Mayo is so weird, man. Like, I don't know. It's just got the blandest taste and the worst flavor I ever had. It's really something else, man. I don't know how, in gosh name, you can go with mayo. You can't really. It's just, I don't really mess around with mayo. Anyway, so, but ketchup though, ketchup's pretty good. It's got like that acidity and that sweetness and that just nice taste to it and that nice, it's kind of like it's a little sweet thing you can add to it. Like you got chicken fingers, you can go in, you dip them in ketchup. Now you got like some you got some acidic, you got something tasty on the tomato, on the chicken fingers now, and it kind of really adds to like the salty crispiness of the chicken fingers. And I really kind of dig that because it's nice. It's something that offsets the saltiness. It's something that offsets like the crunchiness and the blandness of some chicken like nuggets or fingers they can get. Like, let's find a good example of this. I feel like Wendy. Well, what would be a good example of just like a chicken finger or a chicken nugget that isn't what it is without the sauce? What is What is the best chicken finger without sauce? Or what is a chicken finger that is just the worst without sauce? Yeah, yeah. But I think I would probably go to McDonald's. I hate McDonald's chicken nuggets. I think they are the absolute worst chicken nugget you could get on the market right now. I think that McDonald's needs to really rework their McNugget formula. Get away from that pink slime stuff. It's not doing good. It's not doing you justice. The last couple times I've had McDonald's nuggets, they always came with some form of like grizzle or something like that in it. And like each time I'm like, hey, I'm gonna try a McNugget. And then I go and I get the McNuggets, and then I try them, and then they're just all sorts of nastiness in them. I tell you, that's the worst. You know who has really good chicken nuggets though? Wendy's and Chick-fil-A. Yes, you heard me right. Wendy's and Chick-fil-A. Wendy's has nailed it. I don't know what they put in it. I don't know why they taste better than McDonald's. They probably do a very similar thing. But I will say that it is pretty good. It's reliable. It's not like I'm finding like bones and grizzle like I am with Mickey D's, but it's reliable. Like if I'm like out and about and driving and stuff like that, and I see a Wendy's on the road, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go and get a Wendy's, and maybe I'll get like a little chicken nuggets, a little snack on the road. Have a great time with that. But I'm just like thinking, if you really want a solid chicken nugget though, and you're willing to shell out a little dough for it, I'd say you go with the good old Chick-fil-A. And why do I think that? I think they have the crispiest nuggets. I think they have the juiciest like nuggets as well. I think their batter is pretty good, and yeah, their flavor is really good. Maybe I'll get some Chick Fil A after this. Gosh, talking about all the chicken and the ketchup and all that. Maybe I'll go get some Chick Fil A after this. I mean, it's about 10:51. I think they're opening soon. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Let's see if there's anything else that I want to talk about before I go. I don't think so. I think, yeah, I think that's kind of it with what I wanted to talk about, but I appreciate y'all listening. And you know what? Actually, I got one more thing. I want to ask you, fellow listeners, what movies do you want me to talk about next? What stories do you want me to talk about next? I think that, it's a good, I think that we should go with more, I would like to know more about international news. I would like to know a little bit more about international news from certain people. And I would also like to hear about more, you know, maybe some more local stories, maybe some more international stories. I don't know. Because I think that there's really some interesting developments that are happening with the world as we come back from COVID and as we come back from the pandemic and as we start to rebuild as a society. I think there are a lot of interesting developments that are happening in the world. So if there are any news stories that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. Um, any movies, any shows like that. For example, I think that well, I've already talked about this on the show, but like a show that's like Winter Soldier, if there's anything like that on the market, please let me know because I'm willing to check out anything right now. But yeah. Oh yeah, quick review on the Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3. Woo! Really good. Really, really good. I like Zemo. I like Zemo. I like Sharon Carter. I like all of them. I think that they really do provide, like, they just made the whole show better in one fell swoop with one episode. I mean, you love to see it. You love to see it. And, the Loki trailer dropped also, which also looks really good. It's very much akin to WandaVision. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about. I don't think I've talked about. Have I talked? No, I don't think I have. Anyway, WandaVision is really good. Falcon and Winter Soldier is really good. I want more shows to watch that are really good. So if you have any recommendations, please, please, oh, pretty please, let me know. And as always, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and a wonderful weekend. Check you next week. Bye. Oh boy. What happened? I really have to start working on this. I texted you. I think I need to work. Okay. Hi. I didn't realize you were still here. Why are you still here? Hi. Anyway, so thank you for tuning in. This has been NewsReal, and I will check you. Yeah, I will catch you all later.